Fernjack is an author, keynote speaker, and podcast host. From in-person workshops and symposiums to virtual meetings and conferences, her message of emotional grit has been heard by people across the U.S. and from places such as Australia, Canada, Europe, India, and New Zealand. Examples of such settings include the Mayo Clinic, Health Partners, Neuroscience Center, universities, fundraising occasions, corporations, nonprofit events, and more. In addition, she was interviewed about her book titled Greater Than, The Power of Strength and Emotional Grit on KARE 11, the NBC affiliate, in news in 2021 and in 2022. She shared the science behind it at the Neuro-Oncology Conference in Hamburg, Germany. Her story today about finding positivity in the ever-changing world of a pandemic stems from real-life events that happened since the onset of COVID. They serve as great examples of how people can have positive experience even if it means facing the unknown or adapting to a new normal. In doing so, this can help companies with things such as employee morale, productivity, turnover of staff, and more. Great reminders that the best things in life are free. Welcome to the stage, Jennifer Fernjack.
Thank you, Jasmine. People usually look forward to spring because it brings beautiful things, such as green grass and gorgeous flowers. However, the spring of 2020 brought a pandemic that no one saw coming. People would ask such questions as, how do you catch it? What are the symptoms? Can you test for it? Can it be cured? All unknowns. So it was common for people to either wear a mask, perhaps socially distance, or even shelter at home. You didn't have to shelter at home, though, if you were going to an essential business. For example, a grocery store. Well, there was one day in particular that I did just that. And as I entered the grocery store, I could hear the faint sounds of music in the background and see people cautiously shopping for their goods. I also noticed a gentleman behind the meat counter who was by himself, and I thought, as an employee, he's there possibly being exposed to the pandemic for hours and even possibly days. Whereas for me as a customer, I'm just there for a matter of minutes. Needless to say, I wanted to express some gratitude. So as I approached him, I said, "Thank you, sir, for doing what you do." He then looked at me over his mask, and his eyes spoke volumes. It was one of gratitude coupled with disbelief. And by disbelief, it made me wonder if perhaps people who work in a grocery store are perhaps used to being hidden in plain sight, or worse yet, invisible. And I thought, you know what? That might be their sense of normal, but not today. So as I pushed my cart up and down the eerily quiet aisles, I thanked the person who stocked the shelves, mopped the floor, made the bread, managed the staff, did the cashiering, took care of maintenance, all so that I, a total stranger, could get my food. Acts of kindness, such as expressing gratitude, can actually lower the stress hormone cortisol. They can also influence the feel-good chemicals of the brain, such as dopamine, serotonin, and endorphins. And not just for the recipients, in this case who are the employees, but also for me as a person who initiates them. It's pretty interesting how we're wired. The same thing can be said for the science of laughter. That same day at the store, it was kind of hit or miss to find your groceries. So I remember I was really happy that I could find products for my pets, even though I couldn't find paper products for me. So as I approached the cashier stand, I handed the cat litter to the cashier, and I said, "Man, it's too bad that people are hoarding toilet paper." And she goes, as she scans the litter, she said, "Well, at least your cat can go to the bathroom." To which I smirked, "What makes you think I have a cat?" And then I walked away with the litter. Yes, the fear of the unknown had promoted the idea of hoarding, but the pandemic was not going to rob us of joy. It was interesting to see how rather than getting caught up in the cancellations, closures, and just different nuances of the pandemic, people chose to persevere, even if it meant a new normal temporarily or perhaps adapting to something going forward. For examples, there were stories of people who had baby showers that were held virtually, where the gifts were ordered for the mom-to-be via Amazon and then delivered to her. And then you could actually watch via Zoom her opening up the gifts. There were also stories of churches where people, once they could actually meet again in person, would be socially distanced in the pews. However, there was no passing of an offering plate, and people weren't allowed to sing. However, they were just happy to be back in person, having that sense of connectivity and community. On a personal note, I can tell you that the thing that I struggled with the most was the whole idea of working from home. As you can tell, I'm a tinge of an extrovert, so the whole idea of working from home I find incredibly isolating. However, there are other people who actually enjoy working from home, so the mere thought of kind of a hybrid scenario, or when they now have to actually go 100% back to the office, can be kind of daunting for people. So either way, it's kind of a new normal for people. So that's why it's important for companies to recognize the things that I'm talking about in terms of the science of everyday life. Encourage employees to use their smartphone to listen to comedians on Pandora, or perhaps their favorite music. This could be either while you're working from home or commuting to the office. And then circling back to kindness, it could be something as simple as, at staff meetings, sharing things you yourself experienced or things that you did for others. It's a great way for people to connect and to actually boost morale, help with productivity, and perhaps help with turnover as well. The best things in life are free. That's the power and strength of emotional grit. Thank you.